Hi, everyone, and thank you for joining us. On today's episode, we have the amazing Lorra Brown, who is going to share her valuable insights on entrepreneurship with us. Laura, thank you for joining us today.
Thank you so much for having me. It's a pleasure to be here.
Awesome, awesome. So I want to start off today by having you share, your journey. Tell a little bit about who you are, how you started, and we'll start there.
Okay, so I am the owner and founder of LBE Consulting, and I started LBE Consulting after I left, coming from a mega ministry, and I decided that it was much needed because I would see women in business who needed help reading their financials, helping to guide them through financial decisions. And I knew that this is something that I had always wanted to do for business owners, but I never knew that I was really going to focus on women specifically. How I initially got started with business and taxes is from an ordeal back in my childhood of something that happened to my dad. He was involved in an IRS audit, and the auditor spoke really nasty to him. And I always said, I will be the voice for my family, and this will not happen to anyone else, of them having tax returns that no one signed. They don't know what's on there and being accused of, taking advantage of credits that they shouldn't have had, that they didn't know what really meant.
Mm, mm. I love that. I love the fact that your journey is coming out of, pain, you know. And
Yes.
can you speak a little bit about how that affected you in terms of like getting started, like jump into it for us?
Yeah, so how it affected me is I always felt like there's so many people out here that didn't have a voice. And I was like, so if this happened to one person, who else is it happening to? And so I knew that I really wanted to be a voice for people. And I really wanted to teach people how to read their financials, how to read their tax returns, just to educate them in all areas of finances. And
Hmm.
so that's what kickstarted my journey. And as the time has gone, I've gotten more passionate about being that voice for the people who do not know what to say, what to ask, or those type of things. They are just totally illiterate in business and in taxes and in financial literacy overall,
Hmm.
especially the impoverished communities.
Mm. Yep, yep, yep. And how are you seeing this mission through?
I volunteer on a lot of organizations. For example, I am over the state of Arkansas, appointed by the Money Smart Week, which is led by the Chicago Federal Reserve. So I teach financial literacy all year round, not just over in Arkansas, but everywhere. I'm also on the ABA, which is the American Tax section for the American Bar Association. And so I volunteer my time of hearing cases, doing court cases, filing returns for prisoners or domestic violence, whatever it is that I rotate off on different committees that they have where we can volunteer our time. I participate in AARP for senior citizens for taxes, also, VITA tax centers for low income. So I'm just always taking time to not only talk through seminars and being on panels and things like that, but just, giving my time to different organizations that help for that mission.
I love it. And see,
Thank you.
everyone, I want you to take note, right? So if you are having an issue, you need someone to speak to, Laura is who you speak to. How can they find you?
They can find me through my website, and that's going to be www.lbeconsulting.com. And then I'm also on all the social media outlets. On Instagram, it's The Tax CEO. And on Facebook, it's LBE Consulting.
Awesome, awesome. And we're changing up the format a little bit. And why I ask you to dive into it and give your information early in the podcast, I realize that people's attention span, right? They know they want the help. They know the help is out there. They don't know how to find it, but just listening to an entire podcast, sometimes they don't get all the information they need.
Right.
So everyone listening, I want you to grab her information, write it down before we jump into all the strategies and how she can really help. So I want you to talk now about your entrepreneurial journey. What did that look like, and what does it look like?
So my entrepreneurial journey started in 2006. I started doing tax returns part-time. In 2009, I decided to go full-time. That was doing accounting, doing taxes. And over the years, I have evolved, to doing business tax returns, nonprofit returns. And so now in the future, we are doing tax resolution, which means for those people that have issues with the IRS or the state, we help them resolve those issues. And now we're also being a sounding board for those that, don't know how to grow their business specifically, don't know what is involved. So what is it that you should be doing when you're getting ready to start a business? Everyone thinks that they should go out and get an EIN, but if you're going to be an LLC, that's not really the steps. So we guide them through the steps of what really needs to happen through that journey. If you are selling a, let's just say, instead of selling a service, but you're selling a product, are we pricing the product correctly? A lot of people just look and they say, oh, well, my competitor is doing this XYZ, so I'll do mine as the same. And they're always saying, well, I'm not making any money. So it's just really to be an advisor and to be a trusted partner to offer a variety of services.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And let me ask you, where did you acquire that knowledge?
Through college. So I went to college. I have a 4-year degree, business administration, a minor in accounting. I have a master's in business administration. I have another degree in nonprofit. So it's always continuing to go to college, continuing to do continuing education classes. Again, I belong to so many associations that I'm training all year long. It just never stops.
Yeah. And I love that. I love that your mentorship is coming from, doing all these classes as well. People assume mentorship just means one-on-one or, someone online. It could be a class, a course that's still gaining, invaluable knowledge.
Yes.
That you can carry to the marketplace. And have you had any role models or people that have helped you along the way with your
Yes. I have. For every area that I am focusing on, I always have a role model or a mentor that helps me to get to that next level. So I have a couple of mentors that are over low income tax clinics. So they help me and they help a lot of us to, know how to take those cases to the U.S. tax court. Even though we're not authorized, we can volunteer time and they will sit on the case with us to learn those steps, to go through those steps. So yeah. And then in my accounting journey, I have a couple mentors. So for every service that I provide, before I just start going out there and doing those services, I'm going to volunteer so that I can get the knowledge and I can get the hands-on experience. For businesses, before I actually started doing in-depth consulting, I was at SCORE for 4 years. So anyone that doesn't know SCORE, you can, if you're a business owner, you can go there and someone will work with you one-on-one, would give you assignments and help you. And I volunteered there for 4 years. And then I started bringing that arm of the business in and being able to consult with small businesses, but not just even small businesses. I've done large projects with corporate 100 and 500 corporations to come in as a consultant.
Mm-hmm. And on your journey, did you encounter any road bumps, any roadblocks that you had to overcome? And if so, what were they?
Yes. So when I started working with the American Bar Association, we have to remember the majority of those are attorneys. So the roadblock is I'm not an attorney. I had not been trained as an attorney, but how do I begin to think as an attorney? So that was a way to develop my thinking, because we can read law and interpret it the way we want to, but they go to school, they learn to understand the law, to apply the law, and all of those things. So it was being mentored and going through training to learn to do the same thing as an attorney.
Mhm. And what are some tips that you can provide to our listeners for those just starting their journey? Like, they have an idea, right? They want to incorporate a business, right? What would you suggest are the best steps to just get started from idea to,
The
getting it
number one
registered?
thing, okay,
Mhm.
sorry. The number one thing I would say is research. Research. Do as much research as possible. And then once you've done your research, I would say go to someone like SCORE or SBDC, some of these type of environments where you can get hands-on training with professionals who are very knowledgeable. And that will help you to even take your idea further and to know if you're on the right track instead of wasting money, instead of wasting time. And then also always be just like a sponge, be willing to soak up the knowledge, but the right knowledge.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah. And I know I've had this conversation multiple times. There's a lot of knowledge out there.
Yes,
And
it is.
it's not sometimes the right knowledge,
Yes, yes.
you're searching for the right people, you're searching for the right knowledge, but it's just a sea of information. Like, how do you discern what is the right knowledge?
I think I tell my clients or any potential people just in general, interview them just like they should be interviewing you. Ask them a lot of questions. Do they have experience of working with people that's in your industry? If they do, give you a couple examples of what they've done. And then, just always fact check. Those are the things that I tell them. Just make sure that you are doing your due diligence when you're working with people and when you're working on things, because one thing is everyone is out here on the internet and we are giving helpful advice, but you got to remember these videos are only set to a minute or for however long. And if we're teaching, we're not being able to tell you the specifics to your industry or anything this does specifically with your tax. So you're not able to ask us specific questions that deal with you. So always make sure that you're interviewing and coming with questions and taking notes, just like you told the listeners to take notes. So that way, if there's something that pops in their mind, they can refer back to it.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. That's some great advice. Now, let me ask you, what advice would you have given yourself from where you are now to, like, let's say 18, 19-year-old you? What advice would you give yourself to shortcut this journey to where you are now?
Take my time and not be in a rush and not think it's good to have a plan, but not think that by 20, if I'm not here, I failed.
Mm-hmm.
So it would be really take your time and then just really focus.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, because there are a lot of 18, 19-year-olds leaving school now. They're trying to decide whether or not they should, leave school and go into college, leave from high school, go into college, or even go to college. Some have great ideas. They want to start a business while going to school to help them pay for school. And I realize a lot of our audience, they're young, they're starting their business, they're eager for information. You know, any advice that you can give them or tips or anything is definitely what we're looking for. So,
Yes. So I definitely would say if you are trying to decide what it is that you want to do something that you're really passionate about and not just focusing on the money. Yes, the money is good, but if you're just seeking money, after a while, it's going to get old and boring to you. If you're doing something that you're really passionate about, that like I do every morning, I wake up and I know that I'm going to start doing XYZ, then it's not bad because it does not feel like work. I'm passionate about what I'm doing. So while we definitely want to make money in what we're doing, make it something that you are really passionate about, because when the money slows down, then you won't jump ship. You'll be there for the long haul.
mhm,
So that is my first tip. What interests you?
Mhm.
Think about what interests you. If you don't know what interests you now, then some things that you need to do is take inventory. You've got to know, what hobbies do you have that you could turn into a business?
Mhm.
Some of those things are very helpful. So there's a lot of people, they love, writing. If you love writing, you can take that and start being an author or writing articles for people to get paid, and turn that into a business. And so websites, people will pay you to write the content on their website, their bios, things like that. So think about that. Take the inventory. Also, I would say, if you're going to go to college and it's something like I did, where I always knew I wanted to help business owners, what are you going to help them on? What is going to be your focus? When I first started, I only focused on one thing. So I honed my craft on that one thing. And then as I mastered that one thing, I began to branch out to others. Because if you say, okay, I'm going to do A, B, C, D, E, well, you've set up there, you've committed yourself to so many things that you'll get overwhelmed, and eventually you'll turn into burnout. And so then you've got to also think, what is doing A, B, C, and D going to cost? Do you have the funds for that to start up?
Mm. Mm. I love that. I love that. Yeah. Yeah. Being indecisive is definitely one of those things that, a lot of us don't have the focus or didn't have the focus going into college, right?
Right.
Especially if you're coming from the creative mindset where you're like, oh, it's hard to stay focused. But you bring up a good point. If you just focused on one area, you can always expand on it later. But I mean, focus on one area, see it through. I love it. I love this conversation.
Thank you. Yes. And I also say, if there's someone out there doing what you are seeking to do, see if you can shadow them. See if they are willing to mentor you. And mentoring does not always mean that this person is doing the work. It's a two-way street. You have to put, the people that I mentor, they have to put in the work. They have to do the work. There's a lot is I mentored them just like my mentors did. I remember when I was looking to be mentored by someone that does the sales tax audits, he said, have you read, and it was a top professor. He said, have you read my book? And I said, no. He said, okay, start there, read my book. And if you read the whole entire book that I have, call me back, because I know that you're serious.
Oh, I love that. I
Yes.
love that. Okay, guys, you hear that? That's an amazing tip. If there's someone out there that you want to shadow, right, that you think would be an amazing mentor, and they have a book, they have a course, they have any online anything, learn about them. Learn about who
Yes.
you're asking for help, right? Don't just go to them and be like, "Hey, listen, help me." It doesn't work that way. I love that. And a lot of a lot of younger listeners, lots of younger entrepreneurs are so excited, but they don't understand. Yeah, people are willing to mentor, but you also have to put in the work.
Absolutely.
And did
Absolutely.
you get that mentorship?
I did. I did.
Okay.
I attend, let me tell you, I paid my way to attend some of his conferences, and then he also makes sure that I'm present. But whenever I need, we would have weekly meetings, and there's goals that I needed to achieve. I made sure I come. I've worked on those things, worked on those goals. If I'm stuck, then he's a sounding board. It's not me just looking for the answer, but a sounding board of saying, hey, this is what I'm thinking. This is what I'm looking. I'm going into this direction. Am I moving in the right space or the right way? And then he'll show me other ways of how to look at it.
Oh, I love that. I
Yeah.
love that. Yeah. Again, mentorship, I always say mentorship is one of the best things you can do for yourself, you can do for your business. I
Yeah.
mean, just getting from point A to point B, someone that has done it, they will save you so much time.
It absolutely will.
Hmm. Hmm. And what do you see for yourself in the future? What are you aspiring to?
Next, I'm aspiring to become a tax attorney. That is my next
Oh,
journey. Yes.
okay. Okay.
I feel like there is so much more for me in this space to be able to help others and to be able to fight for others. And, just looking at my overall outline, I think that is the best thing that I will be able to do for myself and for, clients.
Mhm. And if someone's looking to be mentored by you, what would be the best way for them to get in touch with you in terms of mentorship, or what should they start on first?
The first thing that I would say start on is finding out what it is that you want me to mentor you on, making sure that I do mentor in that space, and then reaching out to me again through my website. It's www.lbeconsulting.com, or you can find me on Instagram at the tax CEO, but reaching out and then wanting me to mentor you, and let's have a conversation and see if I'm the right mentor and you're the right person for me to have as a mentee.
Mentee. Love it. Love it.
Yeah.
Love it. And are you like active on social media? Like, where are your outputs in terms of the social space?
So on the social space, I am active on Facebook. I am very active on Instagram, and I'm active on TikTok. So those are the spaces that you can definitely find me at. But always Instagram, I'm always on there.
And on Instagram, right?
Yeah.
How do you find that for your business? Is it helping you to grow business? Are people finding you more on Instagram?
Yes, it does. It has actually worked for me because putting my knowledge out there and people wanting to soak up the knowledge that I have and the information of pointers and when I do lives, different things like that. So it really has helped to
Mhm.
grow the business, but our mainstream is always word of mouth. We grow still organically by word of mouth because when we work with clients and they're happy, they're satisfied, they get the attention that they're looking for, the knowledge, then they're passing that information on to others that are always looking. But we
Mhm.
still get a lot of sources that come from Instagram.
Oh, awesome. Awesome. So anyone listening, they can basically go on your Instagram and they can find you on there, follow you. And how does it work exactly? Do you have a landing page? Is
Yeah.
there, okay.
So I have a landing page that takes them to, and it says consultations if they want to work with me, if they want to be mentored by me. So once they go into my bio, they'll see all the different things. I also give out free ebooks, free information. If I'm having a free webinar, it's always on my landing page, and they can always go into that bio and see whatever I'm doing. I'm posting if I have speaking engagements somewhere, we post those. They can also listen to, just like this podcast I'm doing, other podcasts. We always keep showing the podcasts that I've been on, the magazines where I've been interviewed. So that's how they can work with me and find out information about me.
I love it. I love it. I'm trying to give them some pointers so they can gain as much before they come and speak to you, because
Yes,
I don't want them coming empty handed. They need to watch some of your stuff. They need to follow you. They need to get involved if they want you to
yes,
mentor them. So I want to make sure that I'm sending them in the right direction.
absolutely. Yes, the
Mhm.
homework is going to be the number one thing because I'm going to ask you, how did you find me? One, what do you know about me? And what is it that you're looking to do? So you at least, and then when I'm mentoring, you've got to come with an engaging engagement, because I'm not going to do all the talking. If there's questions that you want to know, have your questions written down, because I'm always happy to answer. If I know the answer to it, especially if it has to do about me, I'm going to know the answer. But if there's certain things that you're asking about and I'm not the right person, I can put you in touch with the right people or put you in the right direction. So always come with your questions written down, because then I know that you're really wanting to work for this, you're hungry for it. And so we're willing to really mentor those type of people, except for the ones that you feel like, okay, I want to mentor, but I want this person to do the work. Yeah, I'm
Mhm.
not. Just like I tell my clients that I work with on their business, this is your business. You have to put in the work. I'm not going to work the business for you.
Mhm. I love that. I love that. I love that. Yeah, no, a lot of people think that when they come for consultation, the consultant is the one that should be doing the business.
Yes. We have our list of questions that we want to ask you about your business. I have a long list of things that I want to know about the business, you, your goals, your wants, your needs, all of those things. But you still have to come with your questions and be proactive.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm, mm-hmm. Now, let me ask you, in today's society, I know we're changing a lot with AI and just automating a lot of things. How is that impacting your industry?
Oh, I don't see this, I would tell people, as really as a big impact that is going to really take us out where AI can take the place. Because one of the things you got to know, AI is being loaded by people. So it's information they're gathering. And as always, the internet does have incorrect information. But then on the flip side, these type of tools have been helpful. Before the pandemic, I was working from my home office on times. So that was nothing new for me. It didn't hurt me. Even now, as things are automated, we use a lot of automation in our office to make sure that we help clients so that they can pull information easier. The way that we share information, the tools, like they don't have to be in the same state or the United States. I have clients that are in Canada, other countries, the Netherlands, things like that. So we're able to meet over Zoom. So it doesn't require people to come into the office like it is. So I love the technology. And the crazy thing is, I am also a tech girl, implementing software, testing software. So I love software and the technology that we have. It's just like anything else. It has its good and it has its bad.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah, I agree with that. I love the software space, and I think that people have a misconception about what kind of jobs it's going to take and how it's going to affect the industry. But people again looking to branch out. You can always integrate anything that you're looking to do, right? So
Right.
whether you want to get into a new career like accounting, or you want to be mentored by Laura, or whatever it is, you can implement whatever she's teaching and whatever you're learning with AI, right?
Yes, absolutely. Like I tell people, let technology be your friend, because if you're stuck back in the olden days where they're called the bean counters, that's where you're going to stay. If you're not willing to come up to times and adapt as times come, then this is where you're going to get lost. Because as millennials, Gen Zs, all of these different people have different ways of how they want to do business. You need to be able to adapt to your market space.
Mm-hmm.
And to those people. We still service the older crowd. So those that are not very technology savvy, we still have ways that we implement things to be even to work with them. They do not have to be where I am. I do have some people that have moved from Texas to Florida, and we will send a packet. They're not technology savvy. So we send the packet in our personalized envelope. They put all the stuff in there. We do what we need to do, and we send it back to them.
Do you do
So
you
yeah,
find do you find that you have more clients that are less techy than clients that are tech savvy, or do you
I
think
would
it's like
say it's
50/50?
a 50-50,
Really?
because yes, because we started out servicing some people, and we've had them on our roster since 2006. So these were already older individuals. Now they're retired. So they're not as very computer savvy. They're 75, 78. So they're not working that computer as well these days to do certain things. So we make it easy as possible so that we don't eliminate them and they're frustrated. But then we have the Gen Z, the millennials that don't hardly like to talk. And so all they want to do is load something up and they want to text. They want to have a text. So we have text app. So we make sure that whatever's coming out, if it's something that we feel like is safe to integrate into our workspace and with our clients, then we'll look at that. But the priority of being safe with their information is my first concern.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Now, AI and taxes, how does that work? And how are there any new laws that we should know about in the tech space as it relates to AI and how we're using the software? Anything that you can advise us in that space?
I would say for AI and how it works is it's able to help you research, but again, it's the command. You've got to ask the right questions to get the right answer and then cipher through it. I want to tell people that if AI is giving you websites, check out the validity of the website. But if it always has the IRS or the state government, we know those are good. So
Okay.
it's all about the questions, because just like, let's just say you wanted to ask AI, what should I be filing? Head of household, because everybody thinks they're head of household, but they don't have any children. No, you're single. And so let's just say AI says head of household is what you should be filing. Well, the number one thing on the source, ask it to cite the source of where it's coming from. And then let's just say it says XYZ website. Well, check that website out, because that website could be giving you wrong information. But if it says irs.gov, then you click on it, it'll take you straight to the source. You know you have the right information then.
Love it. Love it.
Yes.
Thank you so much, because I know people out there are chat GPTing their lives away.
Yes, they are. Yes, they are.
So that's important to know. Always ask it to cite sources.
Yes.
I love that. I love that. Is there anything that you want to share that you think our listeners need? Um, Maybe 3 top tips. I know you've already given a lot.
Okay. My top tip for listeners that are looking to do business in this generation is, again, make sure that you research, make sure that you're passionate, and then most of all, make sure that you're aware of what is required of you and that industry, as far as not even just the tax liabilities, but what does your state say about, having this business? If you're having the business at home, what does your HOA law say about this? If you live in a HOA, what are all the requirements? Because one of the things that you don't want to happen is to make sure that you didn't follow a requirement, and now you're looking at some type of penalty, or either they want you to shut down. So make sure you know the requirements for any business that you're going to be looking at.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. I love that. And for our audience that have kids that want to do a business, that want to start a business, they're not legal age yet to start a business. What would be the legal age to start a business, and that you have to file taxes? And how does that process work?
So it determines a lot on what state you're in, because here's one of the things that I do know. So Washington has laws where other states will allow kids to work in a business or to do that. There are state laws that have laws that say kids cannot work at this age, they cannot do this. So check your state laws first. The next thing I would say, look at what business it is. What does, if it's a LLC, a S Corp, how is that entity required to run? That's the next thing. And then there are some state laws that say if there's this amount of income, this is what you have to report. But federal laws, they have other reporting requirements as they're your dependents. So you need to always check out, because that could affect you and your income. So there's certain taxes. There can be a kiddie tax. There can be all different types of taxes. So you want to, really look out. And you also want to seek with an attorney. What do you need to know about setting up a business for a child? What laws come into play there that us as accountants cannot advise you, because then that's a law thing. So you definitely want to see about that. Instead of just setting up a business in a child's name, you want to know what ramifications are there. Yeah. Especially if you have a child that will be going off to college soon. How does that affect their financial aid? That's income.
Wow.
So those are things you want to look at.
I love that. I love that, because there are a lot of kids that are starting businesses now, whether it be in the tech space, even in some groups that I'm in, right? Yes. I see kids going into those groups 15, 16, and they're literally like, listen, I want to start an AI automation business, or I want to do a something of the sort, right? So they're
Yeah.
looking to start some sort of technology business. And I always wondered, listen, what advice should they be getting outside of technology advice, right?
Yes, that's definitely it, because I have a client where last year the son became famous on TikTok and so generated a lot of income, and that affected their parents and things like that in their tax return, because now you have a child that is your dependent, but then this child has also made over six figures. So you've got to look at that. Now, how is that affecting you all? Because there's taxes that needed to be paid. So it's a lot that needs to be thought about, that they didn't have any clue. And he just started this out for fun, never knew that it was going to take off like this. And a lot of people do. They don't realize that they started out for fun and it takes off, and they're not tracking the different things that they need to be tracking, or they don't know what should they be paying in estimated tax payments. And at the end of the year, you have a huge tax bill, but then sometimes you don't have that money left.
Mm-hmm.
So it's a
Wow.
lot of things that we really need to look at and see before, you go into business, or if you've already went into business, before this business gets too big. What do you need to correct before it's, I like to say, too late
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
in
Yeah.
the year?
No, I agree with you, because a lot of times you underestimate how fast a business can scale. You
Yeah.
know, you're doing it for fun, doing it for passion, and then it turns into like a real business where you're like, wait, hold up.
Yes, because I get
Mhm.
people that, you know, January, they're getting 1099s and they had no idea that they really made this type of money because they didn't keep track. Well, the year has passed. So now everything that you needed to do the year before, it's too late. There's
Mhm.
nothing we can do because that's after the fact. So they didn't keep track of their receipts. They didn't keep track of anything. So now what they're totally doing is paying a lot of taxes that they should not have paid had they known to keep track of this or run the business as XYZ.
Ooh, so I have
Yeah.
two questions for you. For
Mhm.
people that didn't track, what should they now look for, so that if they're coming to you, what should they bring?
So what I would tell them is to bring all their income, all their expenses. If you have not been tracking your income, it's not too late. Start a spreadsheet. Start making sure that you log all your income. If you've been doing expenses, look at the expenses. And the first thing I want to say, make sure they're ordinary and necessary in your line of business. Just because the internet, everybody says it's doing it, that does not mean that's ordinary and necessary to your line of business. So reach out so that we can make sure. So that's just like, I give people example. I have a funeral home. It's not ordinary and necessary for them to take people out to dinner, coffee, lunch all the time. That's not an ordinary, necessary business expense. So you want to make sure that it is. Here's another thing what you should be doing: keeping your receipts, making sure that you're keeping your receipts in an envelope so that you have those receipts. There are a lot of people that will say, okay, you don't really necessarily need your receipt if it's under a certain amount, and that is absolutely true. There are court cases where you don't have to have those. But then if you are in a review or you're in an audit and things come up, bank statements are not always suffice. The auditor will request to look at those receipts. So it can be up to them if they disallow the expense. Because here's one of the things that I always tell people. Take, for instance, Walmart. You have your bank statement. You say you spent $175 at Walmart. You say it was a business expense. It could be. But remember, Walmart is universal. You can purchase things for business and you can purchase things for
Mm.
personal. So how does he know that that was really business? So that could be an item that he would want you, the auditor, he or she would want you to approve. And
Mhm.
if you can't prove that, they may disallow that. And if you
Mm.
have a lot of expenses like that, I've seen it happen. 6, 7,000 can be disallowed, and that will hurt a tax return from going to owing a small amount of money to owing a significant amount of money.
Wow. Wow. Wow.
Yes.
Okay. And then for the second question is for the person that has their returns, has their receipts, and they're not sure, right, what category they fall in. So they have everything compiled. They haven't filed taxes. They didn't realize the business would have grown so fast, right? What do they need to come to you with?
They would
So,
need to come with all their items again, everything that they haven't organized, because we are not at December the 31st. I could advise you if you need to make some self-estimated tax payments so that you won't have a penalty at the end of the year. There's still time for you to pay those payments and different things like that. We can still look at, we have 2 more months. You
right,
can get some small things that need to be done. Like I just had a meeting with a new client. There are still some things that she can do to not owe a lot to the IRS. So
right.
there's things that she is pushing in before the end of the year.
Okay. Okay. And business taxes are separate from personal taxes. Can you go into that?
Some of them they are. So if you're S corp, your S corp will file 1120S. So that is separate. And what will happen is a K1 is issued, and you'll put that on your personal return. Same thing with partnerships. But if you are an LLC, unless you have elected the to be taxed as an S corp, you are considered a disregarded entity. And so what happens is we fill out a profit and loss, also known as a Schedule C, and that is attached to your personal return on the 1040.
I hope you guys are taking note. I hope you guys are taking note. This is a lot of information. And if you need more detailed information, please reach out to Laura because she'll definitely help you sort through it and sift through everything that you need. And this is extremely important because on this podcast we talk about the entrepreneurial journey, you know, where you start, where you end up, and all of these things. But taxes is this is probably one of the most important
Yeah.
conversations that everybody needs to have when they're starting a business, thinking about starting a business, if they plan on doing it, filing it as a S corp, individual, if they're doing it in their name only, if they're going to do it in another name. These are really important questions. This is probably, if not the most important thing.
I would say it most definitely is, because I tell people all the time, this can make or break your business, because if you do not pay your taxes, you can look at levies, liens, all types of things where you're in tax trouble. And I've had people that have had to shut businesses down because they didn't realize how important the taxes are, and they
Mm-hmm.
play a big part.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Yes.
Now, I want to ask you a question about our community, right?
Mhm.
Like, our knowledge as it relates to taxes not the same, right? we
Right.
don't we don't know as much in our community. Why do you think that is?
I think it's because we have what's called the shiny syndrome. And what I mean is we focus on getting a return, getting the money, and that's all we focus on. Who can get me the most money, instead of focusing on what is your tax obligation? What do you need to know? What do you need to do? Instead of doing those things, we're always after the fact instead of being proactive.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And are there organizations out there that you would say are great at financial literacy for, you know, like resources for just financial literacy? Because I think it's important, because I think that we don't pay enough attention to it until we definitely need to pay attention to it, if that makes sense,
Yes,
right?
that makes sense. I would say SBCD, SCORE, all of those type of business places. There's even, let me see, some different organizations, the Association for Minority Business Owners, things like that. All of these places have the financial literacy of what you need to know. They have people that will come in, and SBA does as well, people that will come in that will mentor, that will help you in all these free programs. They also have where they do trainings, all of these type of things
Wow.
where they will give you the information that you need.
Mm-hmm. I love that. Thank you so much. Thank you so much. Is there anything that you want to leave us with today? Because we are about to wrap up.
No, I think that is it. Just follow your dreams, be persistent, and you can do the business or whatever it is that you want to do in life. Do not, compare your chapter to someone else's chapter.
Ooh, love that. Thank you so much for coming on today. Thank you for being a shining inspiration. Thank you for doing everything that you do for our community and everyone else's community.
Thank you so much for having me. It has been a pleasure and I really appreciate it.
Thank you.